Got it. So what we know is that in 2004, the tree canopy, the cover of the canopy in the city was about 50%. And now today, we think it's about 35%. And you can see on that screen, that big bullseye of 990 acres, that equals the amount of tree canopy we've lost during that time. Now, the tree canopy study also looked at every single neighborhood, or 19 neighborhoods, to see what the canopy coverage was in each neighborhood. And sad to say that 12 of our neighborhoods are below 40% tree canopy, which is an average you'd like to have. And, you know, it goes from approximately 18% in 10th and Page to Greenbrier or Rugby, almost 60%. So we have what's called heat islands. I'm sure you've heard about that, particularly our brown and red neighborhoods, but even the yellow neighborhoods. So another thing we found out from the tree canopy study is that 70% of the space for new trees is on private property. So that's really the reason we got started with ReLeaf, because the city doesn't plant on private property. The tree steward's doing a great job, but we decided we could also supplement what they're doing on private property. So what's the big deal about trees? I'm speaking to the choir here, but I'm sure. But this is a presentation partly that we give to kids, teenagers, and other organizations that don't know much about trees. But just some interesting facts. We know we actually wouldn't be alive without the oxygen that trees supply us. So one large tree can supply oxygen for up to 4 people a day. So trees are our greatest natural defense against climate change. So interesting fact, in 1 year, an acre of a mature forest can absorb the amount of carbon dioxide produced by one car driving 26,000 miles. Trees reduce heat mortality. We found out that in our heat island neighborhoods, they have the highest incident of heart attacks, heat strokes, and also asthma. And because they don't have, not just because they don't have trees, but certainly trees play a part of that. So trees reduce heat mortality, even if you can only increase the tree cover by 10% more. We did an interesting experiment right here in Charlottesville. The Venable Elementary School playground has 2 playgrounds. The one on the left is for the youngest kids. It has no shade. The one on the right is for the older kids. It's almost completely shady. So we took the temperature on those 2 playgrounds in September. So the shaded playground was 82 degrees and the unshaded playground was 102, difference of 20%. And we know that young people and old people are most affected by heat. So I think it was pretty startling when we show people that slide. We know that trees can lower energy, air conditioning bills by up to 25%, which could mean $250 or more saving for families. Trees reduce air pollution by more than 50%. An interesting fact is that from 1997 to 2007, the global forest removed 1/3 of all the world's fossil fuel emissions annually. Now I got all these little interesting facts from the Arbor Foundation and Nature Conservancy. So we think they're true. We know that trees can soak up and clean our dirty city water. And it was interesting to note that in 1997, the city of New York, instead of spending $6 billion on a man-made filtration plant to clean their water, they spent $1.5 billion to save upstream forests to do the same thing, and obviously had other benefits too. Now this is a slide the kids love. Trees help animals by giving them a home and food. This slide is not photoshopped. This is in Morocco, and the goats are in the trees because there's very little on the ground to eat. So what we're doing first, what we've done, we started planting trees in fall of 22. This is some of our teenagers that help us. So fall of 22, we planted 39 trees in 10th and Page. This year, in 23, we planted 85 trees in Rose Hill. We got a nice grant from the Department of Forestry here in Charlottesville to be able to do that. And by spring of this year, we'll have planted 45 more. So in total, in a little over a year, we've planted 168 trees in these heat island neighborhoods. We also give presentations to schools about why trees are important to them. We've done it to elementary schools, middle schools, and some high schools. Oh, sorry, let me go back. So we've held 2 environmental career fairs at Charlottesville High School. And this is to show the students about all the jobs there are in the green industries, from landscape architects to tree climbers to farmers, woodworkers and whatnot. And also to show them all the environmental agencies either they can join or could work for at some point. And we had over 250 kids come each year. So it's been a great success. And one thing we're really excited about is our green team. This is a teenage program. We have about 10 kids. We've done it for 2 summers now. And we do it for 2 weeks. They're in the classroom for 4 days. But we also take them out into the community. But we teach them about the value of trees and nature to the city. We teach them how to canvas, and then they go into the neighborhoods with us, knock on doors, and they also help us plant some trees. So I'm going to just show you a little bit of a video. I think it's fun. Most of the kids like it. It's sort of the thing that we show them to teach them about the value of trees. Now, is that going to work? I don't know if it's going to work unless I put it on the full screen. May not. Should I try it?
Here we go.
Yeah.
This is the tale of 2 ancient cities and the trees that determined their destinies. In 3000 BC, Uruk was more densely populated than modern-day New York City. This crowded capital had to continually expand their irrigation system to feed its growing population. 2,500 years later, in Sri Lanka, the city of Anuradhapura had a similar problem. They were also growing constantly, and like Uruk, their city relied heavily on an elaborate irrigation system. As Uruk grew, its farmers began chopping down trees to make space for more crops. In Anuradhapura, however, trees were sacred. Their city housed an offshoot of the Bodhi tree, under which Buddha himself was said to have attained enlightenment. Religious reverence slowed farmers' axes and even led the city to plant additional trees in urban parks. Initially, Uruk's expansion worked well, but without trees to filter their water supply, Uruk's irrigation system became contaminated. Evaporating water left mineral deposits, which rendered the soil too salty for agriculture. Conversely, Anuradhapura's irrigation system was designed to work in concert with the surrounding forest. Their city eventually grew to more than twice Uruk's population, and today, Anuradhapura still cares for a tree planted over 2,000 years ago. We may think of nature as being unconnected to our urban spaces, but trees have always been an essential part of successful cities. Trees act like a natural sponge, absorbing stormwater runoff before releasing it back into the atmosphere. The webs of their roots protect against mudslides, while...
So, again, speaking to the choir here, you know all this, but it's been a fun video. And what we do is we tell the kids they have to pay very attention because we're going to ask questions afterwards. So after it's over, we vary the question depending on the age of the students. But we ask them, obviously, the first question, which city protected their trees? And of course, they all go, I can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it. But they know it's B. They know it's B. So now the other things we do with the green team Master Naturalists have been very great. They take the children to Ivy Creek for the last 2 summers. We've also taught them how to start to learn how to climb trees. And we got a nice article in the NBC 29. Let me see if I can get that going. Okay.
The Charlottesville area had some fun climbing in trees today, all part of a program called The Green Team, hosted by ReLeaf Cville. NBC 29's Bria Stitz shows us how it's focused on teaching teens about nature.
This is the last day of the 2-week Green Team program. Students from Charlottesville and Albemarle County saddled up to enjoy the views from the trees.
They all have on helmets. They all have on saddles. They all have on gloves, eye protection.
I don't care how old you are, if you're 4, 14, or 24, you know, learning through your hands and really doing something, you just learn much better.
The tree students were climbing is a red oak. Peggy Vinyares with ReLeaf Cville says these kinds of trees are the most important in Virginia.
They live the longest time. They provide shade for people. They require little maintenance, and they provide homes and food for innumerable number of animals.
On top of climbing, the program taught students about nature, how to identify plants, tree maintenance, and so much more.
I just think that it's wonderful anytime kids.
I don't mean to cut the mayor off, but I don't want to take the whole time. So as we said, you know, we taught the kids how to at least get off the ground on the trees. They all did it. The girls, the guys, the shyest person, it didn't make any difference. They all did it. It was great. And here we are on the right at the Ivy Creek with the Master Naturalists. We did a lot of fun looking at nature, not just trees, but streams, bugs, animals. And here they are dissecting things that we found in the stream. So that was a great experience. So we've also attended a lot of events and done presentations like here, worked on panels. Lighthouse Studio did a little video of us. That was fun. So those are the main things we're doing. So we've got some exciting news coming up, and I'm going to let Roxanne talk about it. You ready, Roxanne?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, so I'm going to talk just a little bit about Peggy's talked about what we have done, and I'm focusing on the things that we actually want to do, that we're going to do next. So one of the things we did do is we had a study done by an outside consulting group that looked at how many trees we really need to plant up until 2050 in order to get back to a tree canopy of 45%. And what their report said was that in order to do that, we have to plant 3,700 trees a year. So we've got a lot of work to do if we're going to get up to doing that. As Peggy said, you know, this year we planted 129, but we've got to up that. So our plans are to increase the number of grants that we get. Hopefully we've got to increase our capacity through getting more money, getting more staff, getting more volunteers. The first thing we're doing, and that's really exciting, is if you all know about the IRA grants that President Biden had in the infrastructure program. A lot of money went out to the states, and Virginia got a lot of money through the Virginia Department of Forestry and put that out for local communities to get grant money. We were able to get about $190,000, which we'll have over a 3-year period. And that's not to plant trees, but that's to preserve trees, because we also believe that it's just as important or more important to preserve the trees that we have, because they're the ones that are providing shade while we plant the trees. But it takes, 20 years or so to get a really good canopy cover. So it's important that we preserve the trees. This grant will be for 2 targeted areas in Charlottesville, 2 census tract areas. And they are over near the Fifeville area around UVA Hospital and Fifeville. And the second one is over near 10th and Page, and incorporates those 2 areas, which are considered kind of disadvantaged areas. So those will be our 2 target areas that we'll be doing over the next 3 years with a new preservation program. In addition to that, we also hope to get some additional money from the Virginia Department of Forestry to actually help plant some trees in those areas as we go out and canvass the neighborhoods, as to find out not only how we preserve some of the trees, but who may need to have a tree planted in their yards there. So those are the 2 things that we're doing. We're also hoping to work with the Rivanna, our Virginia Conservation Alliance, and that is to get a clean water grant to help with that, and that may be in helping along the river and down in the Woolen Mills area. We're not sure about that yet, but we're hoping that that's something also. So there's a lot of ideas, big ideas that we have about not only how to increase the number of trees we're planting, how to preserve more trees, also to increase our green team, try to expand that program going into the high schools and connecting the middle schools, high schools, and the green team program, and trying to have more of a all year round. Right now, we have the program that we do in August and the tree planting, but also hoping to spread that out throughout the year so that teens have an opportunity to not only plant trees, but to work on expanding green spaces and actually working against climate change. So those are our future plans. So I think that's about it for right now.
Yeah, thank you. So we're ready for any questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get the screen slideshow to work, and I don't know how much time. I don't want Beth to have plenty of time.
We can take a few questions. If you have a question, why don't you just unmute yourself and ask it?
I'd like a real quick question. You know, are there particular species of trees that you're finding you have more success with?
We're planting native trees. I should have known better. I'm a landscape architect. We planted oaks in the fall. That was a mistake. Except for willow oaks did fine, but the white oak struggled. And I didn't know that you shouldn't plant black gums in the fall. They should be planted in the spring. So we're going to be doing some planting of oaks and the white oaks and the black gums in the spring. But basically we're doing, we offer people about 8 to 10 trees and shade trees and some medium trees and a few ornamentals. You know, sometimes people have small lots or they're underneath wires. We try to plant as many shade trees as we can.
Thank you.
Well, I don't hear any more questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've learned some stuff, and I thought I knew something about ReLeaf Cville. So I'm excited, and thank you so much. And I will now introduce Beth. Okay. So hold on a second. Okay. So, and there's lots of overlap between these groups too. So I'd like to introduce Beth Kuhn. She's been a Rivanna Master Naturalist since 2014. As a Master Naturalist, she monitors water quality in local streams and rivers, collects data on spotted salamanders and vernal pools, and participates in community and school environmental education. She was president of Rivanna Master Naturalists in 2022, and she's currently chair of the Outreach Committee. Beth is a former special education teacher for Albemarle County Public Schools, where she specialized in science education and reading remediation. I'll turn it over to you, Beth.
Thank you. Peggy, that I was very interested by your presentation, and I really enjoyed the enthusiasm on the faces of those green ambassadors. They looked as if they were really proud of what they were doing.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to be presenting about Rivanna Master Naturalists, and I also have some slides that I can share. Let's see what happens if slideshow from beginning. Ah, can you see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay. It's not saying loading. That's good. I can see it, but doesn't mean you can. All right. So I wanted to talk a little, well, the purpose today, because of just introducing some of you to the Master Naturalist program and letting you is to let you know who we are and what types of things we do. We have such a number of different projects and such a variety of things that people are interested in that there's no way I can touch on all of them, but I'm going to try to give you an idea of the overview of the types of things that we do. So the first question is, what is the Virginia Master Naturalist program? Because Rivanna Master Naturalists are part of the overall state organization. Rivanna Master Naturalists are one chapter out of 30 in the whole state. And the parent program, Virginia Master Naturalists, is a community-based natural resources volunteer program. And that kind of touches on all the major aspects. Community-based because since we cover Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Louisa County, and Fluvanna County, we're acting locally. And then there are other Master Naturalist chapters in other parts of the state. So we're really focused on our own area. Natural resources, because our goal is to protect and preserve natural resources in natural areas and to provide public good through that. And volunteer, because Master Naturalists are volunteers. We have 2 paid staff in the entire state, which is our program director and our volunteer coordinator, and everybody else in all of these different chapters is volunteering. Let's see. So just a little bit of history. Programs like Master Naturalists started springing up in the United States around 1997. And Virginia started to look at these and figure out what was working and which programs were going well. And based on that research, established its own program in 2005. Rivanna was right in at the very beginning because we graduated our very first class of Rivanna Master Naturalists in 2006. Master Naturalists work in tandem with sponsoring agencies and our community partners, which means that often, it's a little bit hard to tell exactly what we're doing because maybe we're working with Ivy Creek or the Nature Conservancy or Shenandoah National Park or the Rivanna Conservation Alliance. Although Master Naturalists can propose projects, and if those are in line with the mission of Master Naturalists, which is to protect these areas and to provide public benefit, then they can be approved and we can volunteer for those things as well. Virginia Master Naturalists is sponsored by Virginia Cooperative Extension, which is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State University. And we are also sponsored by various Virginia governmental agencies that have to do with conservation or resources or environment, including the Department of Conservation Resources, Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources, Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Forestry, Virginia Museum of Natural History, and the Coastal Resources Center of the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. So these are some of the sponsors that support our programs and for whom we might do volunteer work. Now the question comes up, who exactly are Master Naturalists? What are some concrete examples of the things that we do? So Rivanna Master Naturalists are a group of dedicated volunteers who work to protect and restore the natural environment. So here on these slides, you can see class members from 2022 who are learning how to do stream monitoring. There's a photo from a program, Voices from the Land, which is a curriculum where students learn to connect to nature through the arts. Our diversity and inclusion working group put together a program that was provided to the Boys and Girls Club using this curriculum, and also trained a lot of master naturalists in being able to use the program. And then on the far right, you have our state butterfly, the tiger swallowtail, with a native Joe Pyeweed. So Virginia Master Naturalists also attend classes and field trips in order to become certified. So to become certified as a master naturalist, you do a class. It's about 15 weeks, 3 hours of lecture and study a week, readings to do on your own, and field trips where you're required to do 5, but you have a choice of doing up to 12, and they're all very good. Here you see master naturalist students in the entomology lab, in a botany class, and on a geology field trip. And RMNs continue to learn through classes, webinars, mentorship, and field experience. I'd like to mention that we have a new program that's just starting up of people who do nature hikes who are mentoring others who want to start to do that, but feel uncomfortable or feel as if they don't know enough or they're not quite sure how to do it. So mentorship is one of our upcoming programs, something that some members have been working on. Here on this page, some of the continuing education things we've had were a trip to the Lacine Chestnut Grove. Here, we're being shown how they use bags to cover the blossoms and cover so that they can get reliable crosses between 2 trees that have desirable traits. In the middle, we're being shown about native seed propagation in preparation for a seed exchange that we had. And on the right, John Holden has led a bunch of master naturalists and others to, oops, I'm blanking out on the name. Master naturalist can help, Maple Flats, which is a haven for salamanders and other aquatic life. Master naturalists, to maintain their certification, need to do 40 hours of volunteer service a year and 8 hours of continuing education. So these offerings are very helpful. Now, the volunteer work we do is divided into 3 main categories. There's education, stewardship, and citizen science. In 2023, Rivanna Master Naturalists had 217 enrolled volunteers, and they donated a total of 13,350 volunteer hours. In the area of education, I'm going to show you some examples. And again, it's not possible for me to be able to touch on all of the programs, but these are some of them. This was a walk, an educational tree walk for homeschoolers at Brackett's Farm. Somehow I'm not advancing. I am sorry, I seem to have lost the ability to go back and forth. Let me try again down here. There we go. Okay. We went to the Fluvanna County Fair this summer. We have tabling events at all sorts of different events that happen throughout the area, and this was one of them. What you see here is a volunteer who is measuring the so-called wingspan of one of the boys who went through the exhibit. You measure from fingertip to fingertip to see how far it is. And then adults and children alike, because both adults and children do this, can go and look on a chart here, figure out which bird they are, find out a little bit about that bird, and also get a name tag that has their bird's name on it. This is an example of education that's done with one of our partners, the Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water District. Every year, fourth graders in city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County have the opportunity to go out to Camp Albemarle and learn all about things like soil formation, soil erosion and conservation, forests, water, and basically watershed education. Here, Marilyn is showing them the living rock with all the mosses and the lichens, and talking about how what breaks down rock over time. And in the other photo, she's showing them a bar which you can shake that has different types of particles in it, from stones all the way up to clay particles, to show what happens when water rushes and picks up everything in the stream, what settles out, and why you might have that muddy sediment suspended in the water for a long time. Another educational program we have is in conjunction with Ivy Creek. This is the Little Naturalists program. Here you see Virginia Masterson doing some education with the preschoolers about beavers. And then they got to go outside and find a tree that had been recently chewed by beavers. You can even see the wood chips at the very bottom. This is a freshly eaten tree. So those are some of the examples of some of the educational things that we do. Another branch of our volunteer service is stewardship, and this is helping to maintain and restore wild areas. For example, here's an invasive plant removal at Old Mills Trail, which was done recently. This is from 2022, a slightly older photograph, but a lot of master naturalists have been assisting with the restoration of the landscape at the historic Riverview Farm at Ivy Creek. So this again would be working with our partner, Ivy Creek Natural Area, where they've been pulling invasive plants and re-landscaping to prevent erosion, and will be planting native plants. This is out in Rivanna County. It's a grove, an experimental grove of American chestnut trees. This kind of overlaps in between stewardship and citizen science, because master naturalists maintain the trees here, take care of them, make sure that the tree tubes are in good condition, and also take data about which trees are doing well and which aren't. Another partner is the Rivanna Conservation Alliance. There are all sorts of volunteer opportunities with them, with the monitoring of water monitoring and the educational events, but this is a stewardship event, a Rivanna River cleanup. Then the third area in which we can volunteer is citizen science. One of the things that we learn in the classes is how to collect data accurately, how not to guess, but to look things up, find out, and seek resources when we don't know, and to be able to get scientifically valid data. So if we are working with partners, for example, with Rivanna Conservation Alliance and the Department of Environmental Quality, the data that we collect is valid and can be used for policy decision-making. We have many bird projects. You've probably heard of the Christmas bird count and Hawk Watch. And if you may be a birder yourself and collect information that goes on to eBird. So there are many different things that a master naturalist can do related to birds. And one is to monitor bluebird nest boxes. The bluebird nest boxes are made so that they are protected against predators. And they've been very successful in helping to increase the population of bluebirds in our area. The volunteers go out at regular intervals and monitor what's going on, whether there's a nest, whether there are eggs, when they hatch, how many fledglings there are, and then give them a break about the time they fledge, because the birds need to be left in peace at that point. But it's documented the rise in the bluebird population in our area, very much thanks to the nest boxes that have been put up. This is an example of working with the Rivanna Conservation Alliance again, testing water quality in streams by doing benthic monitoring, which is where you take a net and rub the stones and collect the bugs onto the net, and then painstakingly pick them off, put them in the ice cube tray that you can see over here in water, so because they will be re-released to the stream, and identify them all to the family level. This gives an indication of water quality because different organisms live in water depending on whether it's clean water, sensitive organisms, or whether it's more polluted. In this particular stream, we found a stonefly. This is a common stonefly. That's a good indicator because they are sensitive to pollution and need clean water to live. And we also found this adorable little caddisfly. You can see his legs and head sticking out. And this is a case that it's made to protect itself out of the little rocks at the bottom of the stream. This was tiny, just like a little pebble, but it's magnified in the picture so you can see it. Another partner is the North America Butterfly Association. We participate in the NABA butterfly count every year. Another place where it's really important to be able to collect accurate data. The photographs really help because often there are just minute differences between different kinds, and a photograph is really good for being able to pinpoint those small differences. And you can see over time the populations as they are affected by weather events and whether they're staying stable or going up or down. A project that we've been doing in the Rivanna area for a number of years is the Vernal Pools Project. Vernal pools are pools that only have water for part of the year. They fill up in the winter. They have water in the spring, and then as vegetation grows and the weather gets warmer, they dry up in the summertime. And this is important because of that, there aren't so many predators, and there are certain vulnerable species that can breed in these vernal pools that can't be found elsewhere, including spotted salamanders. Here's a picture of an egg mass of spotted salamanders where you can see the gelatinous coating and then the eggs on the inside. Spotted salamanders and other organisms like that are vulnerable because they need not only these vernal pools, but then they need the woodlands that they live in for the rest of the year when they're not breeding. And so they can easily become endangered if habitat is taken away. So those are just a number of examples. I would say it doesn't cover our whole program, and it doesn't necessarily cover new initiatives which are arising all the time, but hopefully it gives you a taste of the different types of volunteering that we do, how there is, in a way, for those interested in the natural world, there's something for everybody in terms of being able to be involved and find something that is meaningful to do. It's being part of Virginia Cooperative Extension, it's open to all. And if you're interested, it's easy to Google either Virginia Master Naturalists or the Rivanna Master Naturalists to find out a little bit more. So I have to move my bar so that I can see. But every day is a good day to be a Master Naturalist. And I'd like to open this up to questions.
I have a question and actually maybe it's a request. I've been a Master Naturalist for quite a few years. I think I was in the class of 10. And I have working mostly with children at Ivy Creek Natural Area. I've done other things too, but that's where it's been my focus. And well, first I should say that the Master Naturalist training is one of the best classes I've ever taken in my whole life. And I've had to take a whole bunch of workshops and classes during my career, but it was a wonderful program and I really benefited from it. I don't remember everything, but I know how to get the information when I need it. And that's important.
Yeah, that's one of the points of the training, is to learn how to get the information.
Exactly. But what I guess it's sort of a request for not just master naturalists, but anybody who's interested, is that we need more people to work at the Ivy Creek Natural Area in our education programs, particularly in the school tours. And I was just speaking with Susie Farmer, who's the educational coordinator there, and Albemarle County Schools has contacted her, and they want to bring every first grader in Albemarle County to Ivy Creek for an interpretive hike, with a leader. And we've got about 5 people who regularly lead these hikes. I'm one of the 5, and it's a wonderful experience, but we don't have enough. So if you're at all interested in working with children and leading them on hikes, we would certainly welcome you. You do not have to be master naturalist, although that certainly would be the type of people who would be the most interested in doing it. But anybody can do it who likes working with children and likes to go for hikes and talk about nature. We are going to be having some training at the education building at Ivy Creek on Friday, February 16th at 2:30. And when I say training, it's a lot of discussion, how to, not just for new people, but for all of us who have been doing it for years. We talk about how to lead the hike, what your responsibilities are. And I should say, you're not responsible for discipline, that there's always another adult from the school, either a teacher or a teaching assistant, or sometimes it's a parent, who will manage the group in terms of behavior. That your job is to lead the hike and to listen to the questions that the kids ask, and we encourage them to make observations. And I have a little lesson that I always bring along with me that I always use, but it's a lot of fun. I've never had a bad time leading those kids, and first graders are so cute. So I would encourage people who are at all interested in doing that to contact Susie Farmer at the Ivy Creek Natural Area. Okay, thank you.
That sounds like something that we can make sure our members know about. So that
I'll be sending them a blurb, okay?
Excellent. We'll make sure it gets out.
I'll send it tomorrow.
Great. Roxanne?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the Master Naturalists have been so wonderful with our Green Team program. It's been one of the best experiences I think that our kids have had. I know Virginia and Maggie Morris were part of that this past summer. And it was just really exciting to see some of these kids from the city who have never been to Ivy Creek before and never experienced that. And even some of what you would say, the 13-year-old girls who didn't seem very interested in much of anything, who just were fascinated as they got down into the creek and started turning over rocks and looking at the little animals, and just really exciting to see them get to a world that they had really never been exposed to before. So and the work that the Master Naturalists did, with all the work that they had them looking at everything in the little microscopes, was just fascinating to them. So it was really just a shout out to what a great program that you had and how much the kids really enjoyed it. Got really excited about it. For teenagers, that's really good.
Getting teenagers exciting is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Excited, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to give another unsolicited recommendation for the Master Naturalist program. I don't belong to the Rivanna chapter, but I trained at the whatever the name for the Nelson County chapter was, probably 10 years ago, and it was the greatest treat to basically go back to school and learn just about a myriad of things in a real concentrated and fun way. It was fascinating. I agree. You didn't have to really learn everything. You just had to know where to go back and find it. So there was really no pressure. And the butterfly count especially was just an amazing treat of a day. And I think what I miss most about belonging to that chapter. So yeah, really something for everyone. It's fabulous. Thank you.
Your experience with the class was very much what mine was as well.
I wanted to tell Peggy or Roxanne, I actually sent my email address to Cville ReLeaf earlier today. So you'll see something from Gregory McKinney in there. I want to know more about what you guys are doing. I think it was the late 80s. I attended some seminars on an organization called Global ReLeaf. And they were talking about these very issues with tree canopy and things like that. And how their timeline was we had to replant so many hundreds of thousands of trees by a certain date, or we'd fall off the cliff. And of course, we've kind of fallen off the cliff
Right.
after that. But the whole idea that of ReLeaf and tree canopy is a great thing, and I'd like to know more about what you guys are doing. So we'll be in touch more in the future.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Look forward to contacting you.
Well, Donna, I'd like to close by saying it was an honor to be picked for your Earth Flag Award this year, and we're very thankful.
Great. Well, we're delighted to have you and ReLeaf Cville, which I keep trying to call Cville ReLeaf, but anyway, both on the program at the same time, because there's just such an amazing wealth of resources around that, all these great volunteers who are doing such important work. We all need to stick together to try to make the world a survivable place. So it's just really nice to have you here. We're so grateful you guys took the time, and we're grateful to everyone who showed up this evening for this program. Feel free, I put the link to the Sierra Club's website and our email in the chat if anybody wants to grab that. If not, you can find us easily. It's not hard to find. We're the Piedmont group. Any last questions before we all go and have a pleasant evening?
Thank you, Donna.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Thank you,
for
everyone.
having-
Thanks so
thank
much
you
for coming.
having us, Donna. And for giving us the Earth flag too.
Yeah, we got TV coverage, so we're hoping to get the same thing for Master Naturalist as well. So I hope it's
Great.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Night.